Hey all, this is Binnah from Herbal, and I'm here to show you how I make a chicken herbal soup. So we all know the benefits of a herbal soup and how it nourishes the heart and the soul, and it has many medicinal properties that come from the hyaluronic acid that comes out of the bones. I am going to really upgrade that medicinal quality by adding herbs of dong quai, burdock, ashwagandha, maitake mushroom, loads of turmeric, not too much because it can make this food bitter, and the usual ginger, garlic, onion, leek, pumpkin, zucchini, mushrooms, as well as colloidal silver. Yes, I am going to be adding colloidal silver to my soup. So with this soup, there is an optional pre stage. I am going to use these really super big onions, and I'm probably going to use 6 of them. I'm going to sweat off my onions, then my leeks, then my celery. This is going to help to make a more of a stock. I will also use dry herbs in the pan first, and then I will add this to the big stock pot where I will boil the bones first. I add the veggies later because otherwise they get too soggy. So you really want to boil that chicken till it's falling off the bone, and I'll show you how to do all that. We'll take it out. We'll shred the chicken and then we'll put it back in. Now, I've added some legs because the leg bones is the one part of the chicken that you leave in the soup after you've taken all the carcass off. You leave the bones in because it gives more flavour. So I'm going to add some extra meat. I have 2 chickens. They're both organic. Almost all the produce is organic, but not quite. The stuff that's not organic, I will soak in a zeolite solution to try and remove some of the sprays and contaminants and stuff. Obviously, organic food is always better because it had to fight for its survival, like us organic witches. Okay, so I will get on with the prep step, and I will film on my phone the process because I know even if I write this recipe out, people will be like more of a visual person, and because I really cook a lot by instinct and experience, and I just sort of throw things in and I know how much to throw in, I'll try and do some measuring to try and help you if you're not a seasoned, wink wink, cook. Okay, so first step will be the onions, and I'll saute those and I'll get this base going. So this is optional. You do not need to do this. Lisa does not do this. She just starts with the chicken, the whole carcass, and I think she uses some other bits, but she just starts with that in the pot, and then she adds in her veggies and her flavors later. But for me, this is the way I do it, and this is the way I'd like to share it with you. Okay. Namaste. Let's get cooking. So I have a very large stainless steel pot here. Because I'm making 4 or 5 litres, I'm going to be a lot more liberal with my spices. Toasting them over the dry pan will really help the spices to open up and give you that flavour. It sort of unleashes them. I'm adding a tablespoon of true cinnamon, not cassia, the other one. And you don't want these to burn. They're starting to smell a bit. I'm just going to take them off while I prep the other ones, because I do not want these to burn. So I'll just take them off the heat for a sec. This is how much ginger I'm going to add, and I'm also going to add fresh ginger. I love cumin, and as I said, I'm making a 4 to 5 litre stock. So normally I only use like a teaspoon, but this can take it. This is a heaped tablespoon of turmeric. Be careful with turmeric, but this will dilute down. I'll also be using turmeric root. Some black pepper to open up the turmeric. And I'm just using a teaspoon of cardamom because it can be quite strong. I have used a 1/2 tablespoon of thyme. Alright, let's combine those and put them back on the heat. Okay, so the most important thing is not the quantity, it's the fact, well, you will adjust according to your own taste, but the most important thing is that you don't burn them. If you burn them, you're going to have to throw them out and do it again. You really have no options. People do them in oil, but I find you can sort of fry them. So you have to use your sense of smell. Really, don't walk away. Don't think, oh, there'll be a while or whatever, because once they come up fast. So just sort of hang around. You don't need to keep stirring. Actually, you can just kind of flick the pan around a bit. I don't want to flip it because I've got the camera in my other hand, but yeah. So we'll let those toast off. Oh, you can see this sort of, there's a bit of smoke coming. Oh, starting to smell nice. I can actually smell the turmeric. That's what's coming up first. Okay, now, it smells so good. Now I can smell the cumin. First I can smell the cumin. Now the cardamom is coming off. And it really smells delicious. But because there's a lot of dry spices in this pan, bear in mind I'm making 4 to 5 litres with 2 chickens. It will take a little bit longer than if you were just doing it, say, for like a 2 to 4 person dish. Right, so I can tell that's just about ready because the flavours, it's gone from being sweet to becoming a bit more pungent, like an Indian restaurant. And I've got just under a tablespoon of turmeric root. We'll add a little bit extra to make it a full tablespoon. Adding the rest of the hard herbs later, but I'll add this in now because I'm just about to add the olive oil and the ghee. But first I will add some roast garlic granules. So there's my roast garlic granules. I would also add celery salt at this stage. I used to add all my garlic at the beginning, but I now grate it raw over the soup as I eat it. But I might actually add some fresh garlic in for flavour. Okay, so this is right on the edge of burning. Well, not quite, but if I leave it much longer, it will burn. So right now I'm just adding some really, really good quality olive oil to the mix, like a lot, because I have a lot of onions to go in here. And I love the medicinal benefits of olive oil. So we'll stir that and see how that goes. You can always add more olive oil later. So that will also stop it from burning. Smells amazing. Oh, this is so medicinal. It is just pure medicine. You do not have to be as liberal with your spices as me. I've done this a lot of times and I sort of kind of have increased it a lot over the duration of my experience because I really want the spices to feature and also to get those medicinal properties in. Now I'll add a good dollop of ghee. So good. So this is not the best ghee, so I'm not adding that much. Usually I use organic, but I just couldn't source any. So I'll let that melt through the mixture. And then I will add my big bowl of onions that I have already pre-chopped. Now with your onions, don't be too fussy. I've done them, when you're chopping a lot of onions, it doesn't matter if you get a bit bored and decide to cut them different ways because all of that will add nice texture. And bear in mind, these are going to be cooked out for at least 2 or 3 hours. So if you're doing it at the end, you might want to dice them in a nicer way. If you're adding them in with the regular veggies, which we will get to, but for now, these are fine. And they will break down in the cooking. So that's just about ready now. You can see that ghee is melted through. Have a little smell. It smells like ghee. Now, I didn't use much, but yeah, like I said, it's not the best quality, but it will all help the onions to be more creamy. Okay, so in with the big bowl, like a big bowl of onions. Now you get to have a little rest. Don't need to prep your veggies yet. You can do that while your chicken is cooking on the carcass. What you can do is prepare your chicken. I'm going to do some yoga. Yin yoga probably. And I'll get this through and I'll show you. So I have added a little bit more olive oil because I wanted it to sort of coat it. Hear that sizzling sound? You don't want that. So I'm going to turn it down because I want this to soften and fall apart and the flavour to be really fully extracted, really unctuous. Bear in mind, it will have the hyaluronic acid in there of the chicken, so the chicken creates an oil of its own. I've made this soup without this stage and it still has like an oily, unctuous feel to it, taste to it, texture to it because of the hyaluronic acid, the gelatinous texture that comes out of the bones. Now if you're a B type, I would recommend that you substitute beef for this. Don't use pork because pork's crap and really bad and full of parasites for the body, so it's not going to be in any of my recipes ever. I wouldn't touch pork with a 10-foot pole, but I love beef, but it's not really compatible for my body. That's why I use chicken, but you can absolutely substitute beef out for this recipe. Alright, so I'll let that sort of come down a little bit before I add the leeks. So now I'll just go away and relax for a bit, and I've turned the heat down because I do not want it to sizzle. You're not frying these onions, you're sauteing them. You're breaking them down slowly and gradually and releasing all that flavour and aroma. So I'm filming my recipe video, and this bitch, she loves sitting on my keyboard. Krishna. Like, she was talking to Siri today, and she reset all my settings. Yeah, you know, Krishna. Hop off mummy's computer. So that heat is still coming down, so I'm turning it quite often. It won't hurt in the beginning, but see how it's sort of sticking to the bottom? I've used ghee, but I don't like that ghee, so I probably wouldn't use it again unless it was an absolute emergency survival situation. I'm using this brand. I love this brand. It's I use their olive oil, but I'm going to just add more because I want to deglaze or get this this stuff off the bottom of the pan, which is flavour. I mean, that will add flavour, but the idea of these is to sweat them down slowly. And the heat has been turned down, so they will slow down in their cooking. You want them to break down gradually. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Yeah, so I'll just keep my eye on that. And I'll just relax for a bit, and then I'll prep the leeks. I haven't shown you how to prep the vegetables. I'm presuming you know how to do that. I just don't have the technology to be able to show you my hands at this point, but if people want to know how to actually prepare vegetables, then I guess I could do a really basic demonstration at some point. But you really can't go wrong at this stage because, as I said, it's going to boil with the chicken for hours, so it's going to break down anyway. So it doesn't really matter about your chopping technique. I'm using 3 leeks in this, and I'll prepare those. See, it stopped sizzling now. That's what you want. Good. So it has been around 20 minutes. You can see, let me try and find, we're looking for it to be translucent. Let me find a piece. So some of them have gone sort of more translucent. Anyway, so I am now adding 3 leeks. I usually only use 2, but because it's like rainy and windy and everyone's sick and we've all got throat problems, leeks are really good for your throat. If you're a singer, you should eat a lot of leeks. Okay, I don't want to get into the medicinal stuff too much because it tends to get my videos deleted. So you'll have to follow me on Facebook or do the research on a lot of these ingredients yourself. So as you can see, the onions and also the leeks are starting to break down, but the onions have gone that one's still a bit white, but most of these onions have gone this color, like a golden translucent color. That's what you're after. And so because they have broken down a little bit, I can add my celery. I won't be a second, buddy, I'm filming. Hang on. My celery. And there's enough space in the pan. I've only used half a batch in here, and it's really just for flavor. So let me let the cat in, and then I'll salt it. So you may think this is a lot of salt, but bear in mind I am trying to use as little stock as possible, and I'm adding it to the stock. This is the base of the stock. And celery loves salt. Not everybody loves salt, and you can use celery salt and garlic granules, make a good substitution. I don't like salt in the water, that's established fact, but I like it in food, and celery loves salt. Those two have a synergistic love affair. They sort of bring out salt brings out the best in the celery. So that's nearly there. Celery is going to sweeten that up a little bit, and I will leave that for just a little bit longer until that celery sort of starts to sweat down a little bit, and then I will transfer all this to my stock pot. This is my pile of ginger. I'm going to add this in now. I'm just about to transfer it into the water, but I'll let this cook out for like 4 or 5 minutes. And I've chopped it quite small because even though it will break down, it will be nicer if it's like, you know, get a big chunk of it. So that's what I think. You can do it how you want, really. So basically, this is a soup. Well, cut. So basically, this is a medicine masquerading as a soup. The amount of medicinal benefits in this mixture, see how it's sort of broken down, it's a lot more loose, it's sort of come together. Okay, so that is just about ready. At this point I'm going to throw a celery leaf in, and that is just for flavour. So I'll keep mixing that and get ready for the next step. Okay, this is the last shot, but I really just wanted to show you. See how glossy and glistening and gorgeous that is? That's what patience does. Patience should be my middle name. Honestly, one of the most patient people that's ever walked this earth. You don't have to be so patient. It'll work just fine without this kind of laborious. But I quite enjoy it. It's Friday night, it's windy and it's cold out there, and I'm having a fabulous time. Oh, the smell coming off that. Oh my God, it's opening all my sinuses. Right, moving on. Let's go, yalla. Now, I have this big stock pot. This one was quite cheap and has a very shallow bottom. So it would be, if you had a heavy bottom, like with 7 layers of steel or something that was quite substantial, you could do all of this in the bottom of the pot. But this one, even if you heat it and put a bit of oil, fire, just. So that's why I put it in this heavy stainless steel. Just give me a sec. This heavy stainless steel pan here. Okay, so it doesn't matter what you put in first. You can put this in, or you can put, I'm using 4 litres of water, close to 4 litres. I haven't added the colloidal silver yet. Colloidal silver will not suffer with the heat, so you don't have to worry about that. It's okay to be heated. Excuse me. In fact, there's the aromats coming off like woo, woo. Okay, so I'm gonna just put the water in. So this is gonna cover 2 chickens and some lovely legs. That should be enough. I can add more later. Okay, so now I'm gonna add this fry pan into here. Now I'm going to prep my chicken by just washing it, draining it, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. But I'll just get that crackle-lackin on the heat. Oh, it's so heavy. Woo, woo. All right, loving it large. Okay, so moving on, next step. Okay, this is an important step. These are organic chickens, but you can bet they did not have the best life. So an important part of washing them, massaging them, loving them is saying, thank you, chicken. I know you've had a shit life, but trust me, you are going into someone who has a very high consciousness, and your contribution to my health, I will be blessing your eternal soul. Something like that. That's what I do say, honestly. And I've let it sit out for a little while so it's not like really cold, going into a hot bath. And I say, thank you, my friend. Thank you. And in she goes. Or he. And then we have our second one. Here, we say the same thing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Little cutesy wootsy. Ooh, thank you. Bones popped. Make your bones pop. It's dancing. Thank you so much for your contribution to me. I know that it's a great sacrifice to give your life to me, but you had a shit life, and at least now your life will serve a really high purpose because you will give me the energy to keep going in this world and to keep doing the magical healing work that I do. So we all thank you for blessing the goddess's body. Mwah. Love you. Thank you. And in you go. I'm going to prep the legs, and then I'm going to do the point of view camera so that I can show you how I do the herbs. So there's me little beauties. I've just turned the heat up really, really high because I obviously need to get this to a boil. Now I'm including some legs. One, because the leg bone has the most flavour. Sorry about your shit life, but please be blessed in this divine magical soup. So we need to get this to a boil. This is the stage where we will be relaxing until that chicken white meat is falling off the bone. We can do some veggie chopping as we get a bit closer, but there's no rush to get into that just yet. We can just sit and enjoy the bliss of the smell of this magical medicine wafting through the house. Because trust me, this is medicine. This ain't just soup. This is a tonic. This is a herbal tonic. And you are about to see just why. So these are proper organic bay leaves compared to the store-bought supermarket shit, really, in comparison, trust me. Bay leaf, you have no idea the medicinal value of bay leaf unless you've researched it. You think it's just a condiment, something you stick in soup. You can actually burn these as well for protection, and I might do a bit of burning over the soup, like just swirl it around. So because it's a big broth, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one more for good luck. 6. I'm going to add 6 bay leaves. So this is quite a big handful, and this is ashwagandha, organic ashwagandha root. Very simply benefits, it's a anti-anxiety medicine, let's call it. Now I've used ever so slightly less of the dong quai. If you were making like a 2-3 litre, you'd use half that. But because I'm making a big one, now this is going to stink. Let's just say for commercial purposes that this benefits the female reproductive system. Please do your own research on these herbs. I am limited, restricted to what I can say, or they'll just pull this video. So this will stink. Your house will smell like a Chinese herbal shop. Don't stress, because it cooks down to taste quite delicious, actually. So this is cut burdock root, and this is, if all you use in your soup is burdock root, so good for the liver, I am going to use 1 handful, 2 handfuls. Burdock will cook down to taste like celery. The dong quai and the burdock you will actually seek for in your soup, because they have such a unusual and delicious, they just taste like a really exotic root vegetable when they're cooked out. And this will be cooked out. Look, the chicken's already starting to turn white. Hasn't even come to the boil yet. Here we're also adding some cut reishi. So I'm going to use about the same. 2 handfuls. If it's too strong, I can just add more water and more salt or stock to dilute it down a bit. But so far it's never failed. It's always been absolutely bloody amazing, and people just rave about my soup, my herbal soup. Plus it makes them better when they're sick. So, I have some maitake mushrooms too. Let's add those. Fuck, they got a strong smell. Wow, they really smell earthy. Because I haven't used these before, I'm just going to go for a really large handful. Start small. If you're not familiar with these ingredients, you don't have to overdo it. Just start small and then add a little bit more each time until you think, nah, it's too bitter or too potent. But like I said, even though they're sort of bitter herbs, and the burdock is so good for the liver, they actually, when you cook them down, they change. So anyway, the proof will be in the taste test at the end. So we will let that go. I'm going to cover that until it comes, and then I'll bring it to a boil, and then I'll reduce it to a simmer, and then I will get back to you when that chicken is falling off the bone, and we will proceed from there. But you can see the steam, but it looks delicious, hey? All those magnificent, marvelous, magical, majestic. Oh yeah, you can really smell the root coming off that burdock and that dong quai. Ooh, but don't be deceived. Might smell strong, but we won't taste that way. So it's just about to hit boiling point. See this stuff here? People skim it off. I'm not going to skim it off. I've watched a lot of cooking shows, and a lot of really good cooks claim the flavors in that foamy stuff. So it's your choice. I know other cooks who are brilliant cooks and they skim it off. But we have our little 2 chickens there, and this is just about to come to the boil. You can hear it coming up, and then I will turn it down just a little bit and let it simmer while still bubbling, but I'll let it simmer till it's ready. So a little sneaky peeky, she got to a boil. I'm just going to pull her off just a little bit to bring that heat down, and I'll just turn the heat down and simmer it now, because we really want those flavors to sort of, we want those bones and everything to release their goodness, so we don't want it to come up too quick. You could boil it like that, but you would be curtailing the goodness, so just be patient. Ooh, ooh. Put your little lid back on and turn you down. Just checking on my soup, and it seems to be coming along quite nicely. I meant to put this in earlier. This is just a bouquet of dried thyme, so I'm just going to pop that in, and then I can pull it out at the end. as we know, thyme really came to feature in the last few years because of its antiviral, antimicrobial, antibacterial, etc. properties. So it's still quite hard. So there's still a wee bit of time left there. So I'm just sitting there starting to edit the video together, and the smell, and they always say when you can start to smell something, it's nearly there. So if these bones are falling apart, this is close. This is really close. Yeah, it's almost falling off the bone. I'll give it just a little bit longer because I can't quite get my spoon through the bone yet. Oh yeah, the carcass is breaking apart. Yeah, she's ready. And plus the meat's gonna keep cooking in the stock with the veggies later. So yeah, that's done. All right, yeah, I could smell it. I'm thinking this is starting to smell freaking amazing. Like from across the room, I was like, oh, now it's starting to smell really good. So, okay, next step. Okay, I'm trying not to say delicious too much, but see how that's falling apart? I have to do this with one hand, but I need to get these babies out of here. Come on, bad boy. So you drain a bit, that's it. I'm gonna put you here. I'm gonna grab the other one. I'm just gonna leave the legs in as they are. I need to find you. Where's your hole? Not that end. There we go. I gotcha. I gotcha now. Oh no, don't fall apart on me. Oh, god damn it. That one must be male. They always fall apart on me under pressure. There we go. I got you now. I got you nice and tight, baby. Okay, so this has got to cool. You will not shred this whilst it's so hot and steamy. And we will get to the veggies now and put the veggies in. But you can see the colour of that. That's with no stock powder or liquid stock or anything. That's just pure, delicious, gelatinous goodness. So I've removed the seeds and I'll clean those up, and I'll probably dry roast those because they're like organic and so they're like really good for you. It's just something, I only used a half a pumpkin. I probably should have got a whole one, but there's just something about pumpkin that smells like summer. And in Australia it's a winter vegetable. I think they call it squash in America, summer squash, but here it's a winter vegetable, and yet it smells like fruit. This sweet smelling pumpkin is rough cut, witch's style, and into the mix. Now I have to work swiftly. I don't have a lot of variety because I live in a rural town and they don't really have a lot of vegetables in the organic section. So basically I just have zucchini and pumpkin. But you can add whatever you like. I'm not a fan of potatoes, so that's why I don't add that. Gorgeous, divine, organic zucchini. Yes, it's a big bowl. And in you go. Have fun in there. Give it a little stir, and then we just have to add celery and maybe a little bit of garlic to this, and then we'll add the chicken back, and then we'll go from there. So this is the remaining celery from the bunch, and she's gone swimming. In you go. So even after all that chopping, these are still a bit too, you can sort of see the steam coming off them, a bit too hot to handle. So what I'll do off camera is I'll just be shredding that and then just putting the bones in there, which I can pick through and give the dogs bits later, and then just putting it straight into the soup. So there's no rush on that because those veggies need to cook. So I've just kind of rough cut the mushrooms, and then I sort of just broke a few up with my hands if they were too big. But yeah, in they go. Oh, I didn't add any extra garlic mainly because it's just for me and I add so much fresh garlic, like I eat like a clove a day. So I'll just add these mushrooms in, and this is just about ready. So at some point in the next 10 to 15 minutes when those mushrooms are done, pumpkin's done, zucchini's just about done. So at a certain point in the next 15 minutes, I'm repeating myself now because I've been chopping for hours. Where's my spoon? At some point, once those mushrooms are cooked through, this baby is done. It's nearly dawn, so I've been cooking through the night. So I'll just leave this on a really super holes in the house, low temperature overnight, and then I can deal with like it in the morning because I have to like freeze some up and So I will get back to you then with a fresh outfit most likely, and we will do the taste test. I tasted it a bit before. I did put some colloidal silver in it as well. I tasted it and I was just like, my eyes were rolling back in my head because I was like, oh my God. Like, and I didn't use any stock powder or liquid stock, but the flavor is there. It is banging. Okay. It's delicious. I know I keep saying that word, but it's so, so delicious. I'm really impressed with how much flavor I managed to cram into this one, bang into this one, pack into it. So, all right. Well, if I don't see you again, I'll see you in the morning. Otherwise, yeah, no, I'll probably see you in the morning. I'm exhausted. There's a lot there, but this will feed me for weeks, as well as have some reserves in the freezer for those occasions when you need some medicine soup. So this was my yield. This is how much my soup yielded. I will pop a couple of the smaller ones in the freezer. I'll probably eat this big one myself this week. And these will be fridged up. And yeah, like I said, we'll have a couple in the freezer for emergencies, for like when someone gets sick. But when it cools down, I'll wait till it cools down a bit more and then I'll put the lids on and store them. But that was a really good yield. It was worth the effort. I'm very happy. So this is the final product. It has cooked out for a long time and it is absolutely delicious. Now, I misspoke in the video and said that I use a clove of garlic a day. What I meant to say was a bulb. I use a bulb. So I'll probably use 4 cloves of garlic in this soup. I will micrograte those in and then I'll give you my final summation. But yeah, the verdict is successful. Hey, the wind and the rain are howling around the house and we are tucked up inside with a perfectly cleaned out kitchen and a lovely bowl of medicine soup. This turned out to be astonishingly, awesomely delicious. It is a triumphant success. I could not be more happy. I don't think you're gonna like this much garlic. My body loves garlic and I love the raw burn. If you don't like garlic, just incorporate it back in the recipe, back in the onions, celery and leek stage. Okay, 3 things. 1, I didn't mention that big thing of water that I used was distilled water. Distilled water is the only water I ever use, and especially if I'm making a medicine or a tonic, which is what this soup is. 2, the maitake mushrooms, they had like a little hard bit at the end, so not a problem, just pick it out. But because I've made it with all the other ingredients and never had that black hard bit, I'm presuming it was them at the end, this little hard bit in your mouth. No big deal. And what was 3? Oh yeah, so last night when I tasted it, It did taste a little bit bitter, like I have to admit. And I was like, oh, fuck it, I fucked it up. I put too much herbs in. So I just, at the time, put a little bit of lemon over the top and just sculled it down and then like crashed. And it was like such a medicine, such a tonic. I felt it in my body straight away. My throat didn't hurt last night. Usually it sort of wakes me up. I get a bit of mucus and a bit of throat lately. But I did wake up feeling a little bit like I had the flu. And I had another couple of bowls, had a little nap and woke up feeling fabulous. So it's clearly a detox, clearly. And yeah, and then when I woke up this morning and tasted it, the bitterness was gone. So I left it on like a low heat, Krishna, to not jump on that computer. No! Hop off! Fuck, sorry. No! God, you're a nightmare. Love you, babes. Love you, bitch. Anyway, so where was I? So I woke up last night. I woke up this morning feeling a little bit fluey. That's now gone. And I'm extremely happy with how this soup has turned out. Even if you don't make it exactly the way I've made it, I hope that you can incorporate some of the techniques and tips and really can learn to incorporate more herbs into daily living via your food. Perfect delivery system, perfect way to hide them. Do not jump up here, Krishna. Thank you very much. I love you. So thank you so much for watching. Namaste, Binnah. Mwah.